What a revelation! Robert Jenrick, a member of the Conservative Party, has just released a powerful video that clearly exposes who Keir Starmer has chosen to serve as the United Kingdom's next Attorney General. In this shocking disclosure, Jenrick reveals how Starmer's top legal advisor has provided legal defense to individuals linked to terrorism, and not just any terrorists, but people directly connected to the September 11th attacks. Yes, you heard that right. Individuals associated with one of the most devastating tragedies in modern history were legally represented by the very person Starmer now wants to appoint as the highest legal authority in the country. Take a moment to reflect. Why would Keir Starmer knowingly select someone with such a controversial record? This isn't merely a lapse in judgment. It offers a glimpse into the murky and complex web of allegiances, ideologies, and transnational interests that Starmer appears deeply entangled in. This isn't about serving the British people. It's about serving the same globalist elite that has operated behind the scenes for years. In today's video, we'll take a closer look at what Robert Jenrick has brought to light, why this issue is more relevant than ever, and what it reveals about the individuals vying to shape the future direction of the United Kingdom. Stay with us, because once you see this, it'll be hard to look at Keir Starmer the same way again. But before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Today, in a development that's sparked intense debate, it's been revealed that Lord Hermer, the lawyer appointed by Keir Starmer to become Attorney General, has a legal track record tied to defending individuals with direct links to terrorist organizations, including senior Al-Qaeda figures and close associates of Osama bin Laden. According to Robert Jenrick, this appointment isn't just questionable. It's a clear indication of the ideology and loyalties underpinning Starmer's leadership. Lord Hermer, a prominent human rights lawyer, has represented individuals connected to the 9/11 and 7/7 attacks, as well as others associated with radical Islamic movements. His list of clients includes Jerry Adams, 5 alleged Al-Qaeda terrorists, the mother of an ISIS militant, and an Eritrean man who illegally entered the UK by claiming to be a minor, though he was, in fact, 26 years old. In many of these cases, Hermer was not bound by any legal obligation to take them on. His involvement was a matter of personal and professional choice. Attempts have been made to justify his record by invoking the so-called cab rank rule, a principle which compels criminal barristers to accept cases in the order they are offered, regardless of the nature of the crime or the defendant. However, this rule does not apply to human rights lawyers like Hermer, who often work under no-win, no-fee arrangements or on a pro bono basis. This gives them full discretion to choose which clients they represent. In other words, every case Lord Hermer took was a conscious, voluntary decision. This has sparked a deep and pressing question. Should someone who has consistently chosen to defend enemies of the state be appointed to the highest legal office in the United Kingdom? Never before has the country had an Attorney General so closely tied to individuals who have repeatedly taken legal action against the British government. The conflict of interest here is not only real. Regardless of whether internal procedures were followed to mitigate it, the public perception of bias has already dealt a serious blow to institutional trust. Prior to the general election, Hermer represented 5 Sri Lankan nationals seeking asylum in the UK, a case that was initially dismissed. Curiously, after the Labour Party's electoral victory, these same individuals were granted refugee status under special agreement. While no wrongdoing has been confirmed, the incident has reignited debate over transparency and ethics in political appointments. The controversy intensified last week when Hermer likened critics of the European Court of Human Rights to Nazis. The comment triggered a wave of public outrage and calls for his resignation. For many, the real mistake was appointing him in the first place. Critics argue the issue is not one of legal or technical merit, but of ideology. Starmer and Hermer share a worldview in which global interests and judicial activism outweigh national security and sovereignty. Public reaction on social media was swift. Countless users voiced their alarm, calling the appointment reckless and deeply concerning. One user wrote, "Months ago, I raised concerns about Hermer's record, and I'm glad to see it's finally being discussed. It's unacceptable to have someone with such an overtly anti-British background leading our legal system. This is exactly why the country is surrendering its sovereignty, putting the interests of those who despise it above its own, pushing us toward collapse. Another commented, "Excellent work, Rob. It's about time someone called out the leftist lawyers who hide behind misinterpreted legal principles to justify defending enemies of the state. If your client list is full of individuals hostile to our nation, that's a choice. You weren't legally obliged to take those cases." Others went further, calling for structural reforms. Among the suggestions gaining traction are abolishing the House of Lords and implementing parliamentary confirmation hearings for key appointments, similar to the U.S. system. According to this perspective, roles as critical as Attorney General should not be left solely to the Prime Minister's discretion. In a separate yet culturally and politically charged development, Reform UK MP Sarah Pochin reignited the debate over the wearing of the burqa in public spaces. In her first appearance during Prime Minister's questions, Pochin directly asked Keir Starmer whether he would consider following the example of countries like France, Belgium, and Denmark, which have banned full face coverings on security grounds. The proposal was swiftly dismissed by both the Prime Minister and Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp. Starmer made it clear he had no intention of pursuing such a policy. Philp, for his part, defended individual freedom and tolerance as core British values. Speaking to the press, he stated that the state should not dictate how people dress, so long as coercion is not involved. According to Philp, true freedom also means no one should be forced to act against their will. When pressed on whether such a ban might ever be justified, he reiterated his opposition, saying, "I believe in freedom, and that includes the freedom to choose, even when we don't agree with that choice." He added that tolerance must be mutual, and he expects all communities in the UK to uphold that principle. When assessing Keir Starmer's performance during the parliamentary session, Philp was blunt, saying the Labour leader dodged direct questions, particularly whether he plans to raise taxes. Instead, Starmer shifted the discussion to international matters, which Conservatives argue is a sign of weak leadership and a lack of focus on pressing domestic challenges. In conclusion, while Reform UK's proposal on the burqa has once again divided public opinion, both the government and the main opposition stood firm in defending personal freedom and the right to choose. However, this exchange has only highlighted a growing tension within British society, the clash between tougher cultural policies and the country's long-standing values of tolerance, liberty, and pluralism. The scandals surrounding Lord Hermer and his ties to figures openly hostile to the UK raises urgent questions about the Labour Party's ideological direction and its true priorities. For many citizens, the country is at a crossroads, one that could determine not only its security, but the foundational principles that define its identity as a nation. What are your thoughts on the issues raised in this video? Let us know in the comments. And if you haven't already, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.